Good morning. Welcome back to Tiny Classrooms Live.
Hi, the doctor here, Don Zulu in Taos, New Mexico.
And I'm Artie Nathan, the HR guy here in Las Vegas.
Joining us every Monday from Frankfurt, Maike Benner.
And Lederode.
Hello from Switzerland, Zurich. My name is Dr. Fadil Citaku. Nice being with you today.
Well, welcome, everyone. And our topic today is going to be more emotional intelligence, right?
Right. So all of us except Fadil have begun to chat about emotional intelligence. We covered self-awareness and self-regulation. We thought that since this is really one of Fadil's specialties, that we'd go back and ask Fadil to give us a quick rundown on self-awareness and self-regulation, and then as a group we'll move into the other categories. So the floor is yours, Fadil.
Well, thank you very much. And it's indeed one very important subject, emotional intelligence, bearing in mind that actually our brain, almost everything has to do with emotions. I have been teaching anatomy and physiology of the brain for almost 22 years in higher education here in Switzerland. And so now we know a lot about the brain, and we know that the majority of the brain indeed confronts at the very first time with every information with emotions. That's why we should really focus very much on learning our emotions. They are over there. We cannot just amputate them, but the clue is actually to get to know our emotions in order to understand ourselves and the others.
Very good. So let's chat a bit about self-awareness as the first component of emotional intelligence. What would you say about self-awareness, Fadil?
Well, you have to get to know your own brain, actually. So then we don't expect people that that they learn the brain as medical doctors or physiologists and whatever, but you have really to get to know how the brain works, and the short physiology of the brain, and to get to know yourself. I mean, without knowing about the brain, it is difficult to know about your own brain. And there are, of course, differences then from every single person worldwide regarding self-awareness as well. But how, do I know my own actually? And again, I say, so it starts everything with brain actually. How do I know my own brain? And the physiology of the brain, which it actually gives the symptoms of the body, So this is one alignment about the brain and the body, So in certain situations, if the brain perceives something, so we have some symptoms which actually can be alerted due to the symptoms of the body and the way around as well. So this is self-awareness, getting to know myself, but possibly getting to know the brains of the others. The brain, it's a great organ, but it has a lot of biases as well. And this is very important that we get to know those as well, actually.
So it's very useful in building good relationships with other people. If we have a good command of it ourselves, it gives us the ability to build good relationships out from ourselves. What about self-regulation, Fadil?
Well, as I said, so we have every single day, to do with millions of information that exactly come through the emotion part of the brain. And the key here is actually to try to get to know those, to know those emotions. How do they affect myself and my behavior? And just getting to know that, done, it is very much done actually. That we know, those are the emotions, because they come a bunch of them, and before they go farther in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, so it takes some time actually. And in most of the cases, we have done decision actually due to the emotions. Just getting to know that, it is enough actually at the first time.
So if we can regulate our own emotions, uh, really can't do it until after we learn how to acknowledge and understand them, and that allows us to regulate them and keep some balance in our lives. So let's the three of us move into motivation. Maybe motivation, Fadil, give us a definition, and then we can have a brief chat.
Well, when we talk about motivation in regard to the emotional intelligence, actually it means that we have to do some things, and we want to do things which are tough, which are very difficult, you know, because this intrinsic motivation, things which we have a lot of joy, that's very easy. But the clue is here, how can we still get motivated to do things which are hard, which are very difficult, with things which challenge us, challenge this prefrontal cortex, and that is the deal. You know, so how can we motivate? Really don't know where they lead us, but we still have to do and want to do and go ahead as a person and as a company and so on. So we talk about this actually still getting motivated in very tough situations, and in situation which we cannot predict the outcome.
Well, it seems to me that the basis of motivation is you have to want to do something. You have to want to be effective in leading people. You have to want to achieve the outcomes that you have planned for. And you have to use all the tools in your toolbox in order to get there. And management today is not easy. And it's far more complicated maybe than it's ever been. And so this is just one of those new tools that we're encouraging everybody to want to use to be as effective as possible.
Yeah. So Mikey and Lily, what's your take on this? Let's hear.
Yeah, so motivation, I think that motivation comes from within ourselves. So we can have triggers from outside, but we have to motivate ourselves. So nobody from outside can be the gear, so to say. It can be just the push, but we have to be the gear for this motivation. It also has to do with discipline, kind of. And it's a characteristic so that some people are easy to motivate or can motivate themselves easily, and others need different factors from outside to keep track and to achieve what they want. So motivation is also related to outside and inside factors, material and immaterial factors. So it depends on how your characteristic is on that.
Okay. Mikey, you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, certainly a lot has to do with the personality, maybe even your upbringing. So the intrinsic part is definitely super strong. But looking at also corporations, looking at business today, that can also be an excuse for managers saying, well, no, if he or she is not motivated, I can do anything with him or her. You know, I can look at the demotivating factors or give them more money. Maybe that I can do, but the rest I have no influence on. And I don't think it's that easy. So also out of personal experience, I know leaders in companies can do much more, and they can encourage people, and they can see something in people even before they see it themselves. And they can foster that, and they can lead by example, incentivize in so many different ways. And that, in my regard, especially now looking at 2020, this has been really neglected. So demanding something from people, but also trusting in people and letting people develop motivation, which might be, as I said, against contrary literature. But I very much believe so, that also motivation can be learned and can be a formalized thing in corporations.
Absolutely. And it's probably one of the top 2 or 3 competencies that an effective leader has to master, almost more than anything else. So thank you on that. What about empathy? Let's move to empathy.
Maybe Don, just a second. I just want to relate that what the neuroscience says, what Mike says, and Lydia and all of you. Very important thing just to add, you know, this safe environment and leaders, and Mike already talked about actually. It is the role of the leader actually to try and make one safe environment in organization, in circumstances, and so far. And that would lead to the better motivation in the tough situations. And this is, unfortunately, as we see how this coronavirus is challenging us, we have the lack of leaders that have leadership competencies and emotional intelligence competencies. And yeah, here we are. People should involve us. Some smart people, they are involving us and we are helping them. But I wish many leaders would involve people who know about those things, because leadership and emotional intelligence is just learnable, just as in pilot. So would you trust somebody to fly from Zurich to Los Angeles and he or she never learned how to fly? This is about leadership and emotional intelligence as well. Those competencies can be learned.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Very much so. And I think it's a very good point. So empathy, what's with empathy? Why don't we start with Lily?
Yeah, empathy, and especially during this year, this is something which a lot of organizations and leaders realize, so that they have or don't have the skill for it. And especially now, everybody working remotely and showing empathy remotely, this is really a tool you have to use consciously. So means me as a leader, I have to decide to make the personal call and show the empathy, or have a real talk with my teammates, and not just having the usual team meetings over Zoom and so on. And our customers are now often consulting or asking us to help them to build this communication method as well, where they can still have the same kind of transferring the same emotion, like having a coffee with your teammate or having a coffee with your employee, and talking about the personal stuff, even though we don't have this personal face-to-face connection. And I think this is really difficult for a lot of leaders to realize right now, that they are lacking this kind of competency, or that they don't know how to implement it right now, especially because we are all remote.
That's a very good answer. So I think you're really sort of saying that to be a good leader, we also have to empathize with the people around us to more, I guess, efficiently understand what their needs are and expectations, and help them to conquer them. And that's openness. It's not all about me. It's about the people around me as well. Artie, you got a comment?
Oh, this is a broad topic.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get it through all of it today. I think that I'd like to invite all of us back to finish out this conversation, because unless people care enough about the people they're working with and the people that they're supervising, they're not going to get the most out of them. And that's what an organization needs, whether it's with COVID in these terrible times or in normal times when people are working to achieve their normal goals. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I know it's later in Europe than it certainly is here in Las Vegas. So we appreciate your staying up to have this conversation. And we'll be back again as soon as we can get everybody scheduled, because this is too important for us not to completely cover it.
Now look for us next Monday, and we're really going to drill into the last of the emotional intelligence bits and social skills. And there's a lot to that. It's where social skills, you'll see, is where all the rest of this comes together. So we're going to have a really good conversation about this next Monday, same time. Lily and Mikey and Fadil, thank you very much for being here.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you again for having us. Talk soon.